I need to find a Supreme Court case for my Communications Law and Society class. I'm going to use a UTEP library database called WestLawNext Campus Research. From the UTEP library homepage, I'm going to go to the Articles and Databases tab. And from the drop-down list, I'm going to select Law and then click Search. Scrolling down, I am going to the W's in this alphabetical listing, and I'm going to find WestLawNext Campus Research. And the description tells you what it includes. It provides access not only to federal and state case law, court rules, statutory and regulatory materials, and publications or recorders such as the United States Code annotated, the Federal Register, and others. So I'm going to click on this. So we have made it to the database. It gives you several search options. It gives you this search box as well as tabbed sections. The first thing I want to point out is the tools section. Westlaw has these subject headings called West Key Number System. If you click on that, it'll take you to a listing of subject headings, also called headnotes. And these are arranged by subject. For example, if you're looking for libel, I would look on this alphabetical listing and then go HIJKL, libel and slander. I would click on it, and then it'll give you a list of topics related to libel, and you can select from this listing to get a listing of other courts related to that subject. So using the West Key Number System is one way to browse for cases related to a subject. But I already know what case I want, so I'm going to go back to the home page. And I'm under the All Content tab, I'm going to select Cases, because I don't want statutes and court rules. I don't want regulations. I want cases. So I'm going to select it. And you're gonna get a hierarchical listing of courts, also by state. But I'm going to select U.S. Supreme Court. Also, your professor said it's okay to look at lower courts if there is no Supreme Court case on the subject you selected. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the search tab, and I know that I want to look for New York Times versus Sullivan, which is a case that established the malice standard, putting a high level of burden of proof on a plaintiff claiming defamation and libel of a published inaccuracy. So I have typed in my search term. Now I'm going to click search. And it pulled it up right away. And on the left, it'll list what kind of cases are related to this topic. So I'm going to click on it, and here it'll give you a brief summary of the case, and it'll also give you what court decided the case, when it was decided, and where it was published. So these are called the reporters. So, and they're abbreviated. This is the volume number. This is the abbreviation of this recorder, and the page that the decision is found in. This one is actually the recorder or publication for the Supreme Court. Now we're going to look at the anatomy of a Supreme Court case and some of these tabs. We're going to look at the citation parts first. At the very top, we find the volume number and the abbreviation of the court reporter it was published in. as well as the page number that the decision is found in, and then it tells you which court tried this case. Below it, we find the case name, New York Times Company versus Sullivan. Below that, we find the dates it was argued and decided. And here below that, we find the summary, also called the syllabus. So it just gives you an overview of the case. To find out what the court's final determination for this case was, you're going to look at what they call the disposition. And it's right underneath the summary, right here. And three things can happen here. The court can either affirm, which is to allow the lower court's opinion to stand. They can reverse, void, or vacate, which means to overturn the lower court's ruling, or they can remand, which is to send the case back to a lower court for a retrial. And here we see that they not only reversed the lower court's opinion, but they also remanded or sent it back for a retrial. Next, we find the West headnotes, which are the points of law or rules of opinion made in the case. And here we find we have more than a couple. If you click on the little key icon, it'll give you more subjects related to this case. If you want to know more about constitutional law, you click on the link, and it'll take you to related United States Supreme Court cases on this topic. Below this, we find the attorneys and law firms, or the lawyers that argued the case. Below that, we find the opinion, and we see that Supreme Court Justice Brennan delivered the opinion of the court. And the opinion just articulates the court's official decision. If the opinion includes other Supreme Court cases, these are linked to this case. So when you click on it, it'll pull up that other case. Scrolling down, we also find that we have an appendix. And here we find a document that was reviewed by the Supreme Court. And here are the citations for this case, as well as footnotes. If there was a dissenting opinion, it would also be included towards the bottom. However, this case doesn't have one. Next, we're going to look at the History tab. The History tab will tell you which court the case came from. The Supreme Court receives a writ of certiorari, or a petition to hear a case previously decided in a lower court. If they decide to hear a case, they request all the documents of that case from the lower court. It's sort of like your doctor requesting all your medical records from another doctor when you're getting a second opinion. If they hear a case, no new evidence is introduced. They just review the case and make a decision. So here we see when the petition was presented and by whom. And we see that it came from a lower court. It came from the Supreme Court of Alabama. Next, we're going to talk about cite key flags. These tell you what kind of treatment the decision has received over its lifetime. And it can get anything from a red flag, which warns you the case is no longer a good law, a yellow flag, which means it has a negative history but it hasn't been reversed, and here we see that it received a negative treatment and it was actually reversed 2 years later, 1964, by the Alabama Supreme Court, which would mean I would have to do another search to see where exactly this ended up.